Hello, everybody, and welcome to Informer Live. This is when we have some special opportunities and some availability of some of the greatest talent and topics around. And I'm so happy that we are able to give you a little bit of a preview conversation with our guest today, who is Miles Daughtery. We'll get to him in a moment. He is in the National Touring Company of MJ. That's going to be coming here to DC in a couple of weeks, August the 13th. But before we get to chat with Miles, who I just found out is a homeboy, he's from the DC area. I want to let you know the latest copy of the Washington Informer is out on newsstands around town, usually close to metro stations, but also in some grocery stores and drugstores in the area. But you can also get to the latest edition at WashingtonInformer.com. Again, that is WashingtonInformer.com. And let's bring on Jay Daughtery to chat with us today.
Hello.
Jay, hello, hello, hello. Thank you for being with us. Um, for our listening audience and viewing audience, Jay portrays the iconic founder of Motown Records, Berry Gordy. And he kind of sort of looks like a young Berry Gordy, doesn't he? But we are so excited that he has time on his busy travel schedule, the musical. And for those of you all who don't know about MJ the musical, I think you've been in a cellar or in the attic somewhere, because it has had a wonderful run on Broadway. The National Touring Company is out, and it's coming here to Washington, D.C. So, Jay, welcome. We're glad you're with us. Tell our audience where in the DC area you hail from and where you lived for a number of years.
I lived and worked in Woodley Park, Adams Morgan area for a while. I worked at Wachovia Bank. I don't know if you remember that bank. I actually moved to DC from Bethune-Cookman University. I graduated and moved up to DC to work at BET when BET was in DC.
Yes.
And I was interning there for a while. And then when I got to DC, they wanted to continue my internship and I needed to work. So I started working at the bank, at Wachovia Bank there on 20th and L.
I know where it is.
Yeah. And then they began to open up branches and I moved up to Adams Morgan. I was living in Woodley Park. DC is where I grew up. I sing with a gospel group that's based there called Anthony Brown and Group Therapy.
I saw that that in your bio. We're going to talk about that. Yes.
So, Anthony, they're like my family and my core group of friends. So, DC is literally my second home.
Well, look, I have so many things to talk to you about because you have such a rich career in musical theater, but in other areas, as you alluded to with gospel. Mm-hmm. But first, let's kick it off by talking about MJ the musical. Oh. How did that come about for you? Because you have a background in doing other musicals.
Yeah. MJ, I've played Berry Gordy 3 times. This is my third show playing Berry Gordy. And so when I saw MJ, I was in Ain't Too Proud on Broadway. Which is about the Temptations.
And, it's been here a couple of times.
Yeah. And I was playing Berry Gordy in that show as well as Otis. And so they gave us tickets to come see MJ. And when I saw MJ, it was so nostalgic for me being an 80s baby. So a lot of the music is what I grew up on, and what I became on. And so there was already an initial attachment to the show just based on that. So when the opportunity came to audition for it, I went in the room, and as soon as I walked in the room, the director sat up, and I was like, "Oh, here we go." And he was like, "Just do your thing." And when I walked out of the room, you have that feeling where it's like, I know I probably booked that, or I did great in the room. And he called me back into the room and was like, "Let me have you do it one more time, just to make sure." And so I did it one more time. And he was like, "Thank you so much." And then that night they actually called me and they offered me the role.
Well, in getting into that part of the Motown history, and playing Berry Gordy.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people may not realize that before he was really building up Motown, he was already working with Jackie Wilson,
Mm-hmm.
already had his hands in the business. I think he was in boxing for a while. I think
He
I read
was.
that from it. Okay,
He
yeah.
was.
And so he had dipped his toe in a lot of different things. So
Mm-hmm.
he came in, I think, fighting for success. Maybe that's the analogy I could
Mm-hmm.
make between
Yeah.
boxing and how we got into music. And
Mm-hmm.
just not to take anything away from the national company. Of course, we know about MJ because of all the accolades and the awards that it's gotten from
Mm-hmm.
its Broadway run. But the original performer, actor in the MJ role, Miles Frost, is from the DC area. He graduated from Bowie State University and grew up
Mm-hmm.
in Prince George's County. And he's been a guest on our show a couple of times, but I swear we have been waiting for you all.
Yeah.
We have been waiting. We have been waiting for you. People
We
have
are.
been talking about this for more than a year because we knew it was coming.
Uh-huh.
So we are so excited for those who didn't go up the road to see it in New York.
Mm-hmm.
We are so happy that you're here in our town for quite an extended run. It's going to be almost 3 weeks, I believe.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
And we're excited to come. You know, the audiences across the nation have been very excited about the show. But certain communities are extremely excited because they have a certain ownership they feel a certain ownership of the music and the culture. And I'm excited about that. We talked about Ain't Too Proud and it being there in DC, and it was the same kind of anticipation because this is a cultural kind of thing. And, I think that adds to the excitement.
Well, the other thing that adds to the excitement, again, is that we love the fact that Broadway at the National, that's the National Theater,
Mm-hmm.
which is a historic theater here in Washington, D.C., has been able to bring in so many wonderful productions that have been on Broadway.
Yes.
For those who may not be able to get up to New York or other places, they're bringing in the national touring companies. And you all do such a wonderful job. I know you maintain a rigorous schedule because you're hopping from one place to the other.
Yeah.
As we opened up, we know that you're in Cleveland, but you're coming directly to DC
Yes.
after, and you'll be here for a while. So you'll get a chance maybe to get around to some of your old stomping grounds.
Oh, I will.
Okay. Well, that's great. Well, but I want to talk a little bit more about your background. I'm glad that you alluded to Ain't Too Proud, which has been here a couple of times. I've seen that. And also Motown the Musical. So
Yes.
you've got, how could they not consider you? I mean, you are steeped in Motown. How about that?
And especially when it comes to Berry Gordy, because of Motown the Musical, he was very hands-on with that show. So you would get a random call. I played Berry Gordy in that show, and so you would get a random call in the middle of the day, like, "Hey, man, I know this is what we wrote in the story, but that's not how this happened. So tonight, so tonight I want you to say it like this." You're like, "Okay, Mr. Gordy."
Wait a minute. Time out. Okay, this was for Ain't Too Proud and Motown the Musical? Just Ain't Too Proud.
Just Motown.
Oh,
Just
Motown.
Yeah.
And then, but you were in Ain't Too Proud.
I was in Motown and Ain't Too Proud.
Right, but you played Berry Gordy in all of those?
Both.
Okay, you are
This is
Berry
my
Gordy.
third time playing the...
You are Berry Gordy, whether you want to be or not. This is great. And then he would call you and give you notes.
Yes, absolutely. Right before the show.
I love it. I love this. I love this.
He was very hands-on, and it goes back to his life before Motown.
Right.
This factory worker kind of mindset where it's like, this is a product and this is what it needs to be. So he's still very well during Motown. He was still very hands-on in that way about everything that he was producing.
Okay, well, for those that are just joining us, we are talking to Jay Daughtery. He is going to be in the company of MJ the Musical that is on its way into DC. It opens up August the 13th, and he is Berry Gordy. He is Berry Gordy because he's been Berry Gordy for probably longer than you've been on Earth. He is Berry Gordy. And I also heard you mention you are a singer. This is a musical. You are a singer. I heard you say that you played Otis in Ain't Too Proud, which means you are the bass.
Otis was the one who they
Oh,
said
I'm sorry, the founder. I'm sorry.
the
I'm
founder.
thinking
Yeah,
of Melvin. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
you
I'm
think
thinking
of
of
Blue.
Melvin.
Yeah.
Otis, who is the
Mhm,
founding member that really Ain't Too Proud was based on his book. And
yes,
so we've got all of this material. And then, but also you were in The Color Purple.
I was. I was in the tour. I was Harpo uh, in The Color Purple, which was a beautiful experience. I still hold that show as one of the most memorable shows that I've been in. I'm still very close to the entire cast. Cynthia is like one of my closest friends, and yeah,
Okay, tell us who Cynthia is.
so Cynthia Erivo,
Thank
who
you. Who's about to come out in Wicked. Now look, just don't skip over all these wonderful, talented people like yourself. Okay, and I've been seeing her at the Olympics in
Mhm.
Paris.
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she and a lot of us are still very close. Like MJ the musical just did the Jennifer Hudson show a few months ago, and seeing Jennifer for the first time. The last time I saw her was in London, and seeing her at her show, it was like no time had passed. We hugged, we embraced, we laughed, we talked like we had just seen each other yesterday. So we're all still very close from that show. But yeah, I played Harpo in The Color Purple. I did it on Broadway as well, and that show still holds a very dear place in my heart.
And then you were in Beautiful, Carole King, the musical.
Yes, my Broadway debut.
Okay,
Yeah.
wonderful. That's a wonderful, wonderful musical. Again,
Mhm.
that came here. The
Mhm.
National Company came here, and just like Motown music, Carole King's music is one that many of us grew up with,
Yeah.
and whether or not we know we grew up with her music, right?
That was the part that got me because that was a kind of interesting. Me getting into that show was very interesting. I was in Motown at the time in Toronto, and the show called me and were like, "Hey, can you come and audition for our show?" And I was like, "I'm in Toronto," and my mom was there, and they were like, "Well, what if we bought you a plane ticket, and and have someone teach you the choreography before you come to the,
Wow.
and you just come in here and show us." So, and they were like, "We can get you back to Toronto within 5 hours." And I was like, "Okay." So I did. And they had someone teach me the choreography before I got there. And I just went in the room and auditioned. But I had never seen the show.
Right.
So once I got in the show and started hearing these songs, I was like, Carole King didn't write that. And it was like, yes, she did. I was like- so there was a lot of the songs that I did not know that she penned, you know.
I think a lot of people know her best from writing Natural Woman,
Hmm.
the big hit that
Hmm.
Aretha Franklin had.
Yeah.
A lot of the music that came out of a music production area called the Brill Studio that
Hmm.
I think the Drifters and
Yes.
just a lot of talent that
Hmm.
many of our audience members have grown up with. I know I did. And
Hmm.
so this is what I understand from what you've shared with us already, Jay. You are highly respected because people keep finding you and just like you can have this. you know it's just wonderful, and I think that is a testament to how talented you are.
Oh,
And then when we opened up the show, you
mhm.
talked a little bit about being in gospel music.
Mhm.
You've been with a was it with Anthony Brown that you all were nominated or won Grammy Awards?
We were nominated 3 times for
Okay,
the
and then
Grammy.
a Dove Award.
A double. We're actually nominated again this year for a double award, and we have about, I want to say, 20 Stellar Awards.
Wow.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's
Okay,
been a
that
process.
wasn't in the bio, but because the Stellar Awards, all of the Faith Music Awards
Mhm.
are wonderful because I kind of feel they get a short shrift when you're coming up with the Grammy Awards and the American Music Awards and all these
Yeah,
other. But
yeah,
a lot of those people came out of faith music.
absolutely.
Okay, a lot of regardless of where they grew up, the type of church they came out of,
Mhm.
they grew up in faith music. So
Yeah.
that's why they got these big, strong booming voices.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And I'm just so happy to know what you've done. But help me understand this. Talk about being with Cirque du Soleil. I'm glad I make you laugh. You have a wonderful laugh. I see things about your background. I was like, how did that happen? But
Now, how?
hold that thought. Hold that thought.
Okay.
Folks, we're talking to Jade Daughtery, who portrays and is Berry Gordy in the National Touring Company of MJ, the musical that's coming here to the Washington, D.C. area beginning August the 13th. And he is about to tell us about being a part of Cirque du Soleil.
So I have to tell you how it all started. So I was working at Wachovia Bank, and this is when the banks crashed. And the banks crashed and people started doing crazy stuff. I was a small business banker, and they raised our quotas in order for everyone to, keep the bank afloat. And people were doing crazy things. And I went to my manager and was like, "Hey, this is an environment that I cannot. I'm
Yeah.
not going to put myself in danger or get in trouble doing something crazy." So I left the bank, and I ended up teaching in Clinton, Maryland. I taught at Clinton Christian School is what it was called. And I
Okay.
taught there for a year. Now, during that time, I was teaching fifth grade and before and after care. And during that time, the music teacher passed away. And my principal came to me and she was like, "Hey, I know you sing. Can you cover for us until we find another music teacher?" And they had a spring concert coming up. So I'm teaching the kids, and she's standing at the door, Miss Williams. I will never forget her. And after the class, she was like, "Mr. Daughtry, can I talk to you?" And I was like, "Sure." And she's like, "You're doing the wrong thing." And I was like, "What do you mean?" She was like, "You're supposed to be doing this." I was like, "What do you mean?" And she was like, "The way that music flows out of you, the way that you sing it, you can teach it. You like it's so enveloped in it. This is what you should be doing." I was like, "Okay, you might be right." And so she was like, "I'm gonna do this for you. I'm gonna give you 3 days a week to lead." This is a private school, so she can bend the rules. So she was like, "I'm gonna
Yeah.
give you 3 days a week so that but you have to promise me on those 3 days you will audition." And so I did. I would get on a train from DC, from Union Station, and go up to Penn Station and audition 3 days a week. Um, and the first thing I booked was Cirque du Soleil, and it was just as a singer.
Right, right. That's what I figured because they have a live band or live
Mhm,
group of
mhm.
musicians playing behind them while they're doing all of their
Yeah,
acrobatic stunts and all the tricks and
uh-huh.
everything. Yeah, so I figured that's what it was. I didn't think
Yeah,
you were swinging through the
right.
air.
Backbends.
I didn't think you were doing that. But then again, with all of your talent, I would not have been surprised. Okay.
Oh, and so it was Cirque du Soleil. I did a few of their shows, and then cruise ships, and then I moved over to Japan to do Universal Studios, and something in my spirit said, "Come back to America." And so I left America, came back the next day, got a call back from the director of Motown the musical, and was like, "Hey, I heard you're in town and I need to see you." Charles Randolph Wright.
Yes.
He was like, "I heard you're in town and I need to see you." And I was like, "Sure." He was like, "Can you come tomorrow and sing this song for me?" And I was like, "Sure." I went in the room, did not know that Berry Gordy and Smokey was going to be Smokey Robinson was going to be in the room.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
So I walked in, I was like, and Charles was like, "Calm down," and sing the song. And I sang, "I know you want to leave me." I sang that, and then he handed me a pamphlet, a packet of papers, and was like, "I need you to learn this by tomorrow and come in here and do the Berry Gordy track." So I went home. I learned everything. The songs were all very familiar, except the last song, "Can I Close the Door?" And this was on a Wednesday. On Thursday, I went in, did it. Friday, I had to go back in and do it again. And that Friday night, they called me and I had booked again. So I got home from Japan on Monday. By Friday, I had booked Motown and was, preparing to go out on tour with that.
we are talking to Jay Daughtery, talent extraordinaire, which is at this point is an understatement. He is Berry Gordy in the National Touring Company of Ain't Too Proud. I'm sorry, listen to me. Oh, you play Berry Gordy in that too. He is Berry Gordy in MJ the Musical. I'm serious. He's been Berry Gordy 3 times. This is his 3rd time portraying Berry Gordy in a musical related to Motown.
Yeah.
MJ the Musical, and it's starting here at the National Theater on August the 13th, playing until September the 8th.
Yeah.
And it is a part of a wonderful series of Broadway productions that Broadway at the National has been bringing to the Washington area now for the past few years. And we're so grateful to them for identifying Jay to talk with us. And he is our homeboy.
Yeah.
You know, he is.
Absolutely.
He grew up in this area for a while, and he's been everywhere else too. And so, and he's an HBCU alum, and so am I, and so is our producer today, Jamon Jackson, and evidently so is my sister, who just put in a comment. And you're going to be going to Greensboro. Are you a part of the company that's going to Greensboro, North Carolina?
I believe so. We're having a lot of changes in the cast, so they're sending Broadway and to Germany, and there's an Australian cast that is being put up. So I believe I still will be in this national tour. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me just tell you this. This has been such a wonderful time chatting with you, and I thank you so very much, and continued success with your career. And I know when MJ the Musical comes to National Theater, I have absolutely no doubt that every show is going to be sold out, because like I said, we've been waiting for you all. We have been waiting for you all, those of us that didn't go up the road to New York to see the musical. We embrace the whole concept of MJ the Musical, because as you said, that's the music we grew up with.
Yeah.
We're so happy that such a wonderful award-winning musical is coming to our town.
Yeah.
And and I want to thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to welcoming you here back to your hometown and the whole cast. Thank you so very much, and have a good rest of the day. But before we go, I just want to make sure that our audience knows the latest issue of the Washington Informer is now out. It came out today, folks. It came out today. It is on newsstands around town, which, as I said earlier, mostly at metro stations, the subway stations, and the bus stations. But also, you can get to it online at WashingtonInformer.com. And tomorrow will be the regular airing of Let's Talk, our Friday live talk at 12 noon Eastern Time. And it's going to be the intern takeover. Our summer interns are going to be taking over the show, hosting the show. They're going to be talking about politics. And oh my God, is there a lot to talk about politics right now? So thank you, everybody, for being with us. Tune in to Let's Talk tomorrow at 12 noon. And please have a great rest of the day. I know it's hot out there. It's going up to feel like 100 degrees today, but try to stay cool and try to stay calm. Thank you so much for tuning in.